All right, backyard growers, we are well into the dying time when it comes to most of the plants that exist in your garden in 8B South. You can see this is our Dixie Red, which you saw earlier this year in some of the videos, was just absolutely loaded. And now it's really weathered it pretty well overall. There's some disease down underneath, but for the most part, this has given up the ghost in terms of fruit. I did want to show you something here. Now, you can see that on this tomato right here, this has kind of a white, big white blister type section on it. This is what I'm talking about when I talk about sun scald. Now, I left this tomato where it was because I wanted to get an example of sun scald, but you'll notice that these plants over here, they have pretty good coverage when it comes to the fruit. And so I decided that I was not going to put the shade cloth over these because it's a lot of work to put the shade cloth up because it's giant, but also there's just not enough fruit on it to even worry about. Now over here you can see the mountain merits. I had shade cloth on them and then it kind of got tore up by a storm, but it still got some on it. And the mountain merits are really, really strong when it comes to fighting disease. And these plants are still just killing it, but they're done for the most part producing fruit as well. But I'm not going to have a whole lot of issue with sun scald on these because look at the amount of foliage they have. My bigger issue with these is leaf-footed bugs, and I have been spraying little target practice going out in the evening, but it's just hard to stay ahead of leaf-footed bugs. They're so prolific, they're so hard to kill. They need a really good direct shot. But my big surprise, and the one that I just can't believe, is these ultimate openers, which I expected to be the first ones to die. Now, these are an indeterminate variety, and they are still putting on flowers. I don't think they're going to put on fruit, but they're still producing fruit. They have been by far my most prolific, and the fruit overall is absolutely perfectly shaped. I mean, these are picture perfect tomatoes. The taste is okay. I wouldn't put these in a taste testing contest, but look, if you got a choice between tomatoes that are going to die and give you nothing, plant some of those if they're really great tasting. But these ultimate openers, I'm telling you, these are just absolutely, hands down, surprise me in terms of just how productive they are. Now the Thunderbird here got a lot of disease. The top is doing okay, but I'm going to pull these as soon as these last few fruit start to turn. Once they get into the breaker stage, I'll go ahead and pull those. The other thing that surprised me too is some of these heirloom tomatoes that are no more diseased than any of the tomatoes, the hybrid, with the exception of maybe the mountain merit. Now this particular one right here was a disappointment because it just didn't produce any fruit, and I thought that it was going to. This particular variety was a purple tomato that was supposedly going to produce a great amount of fruit. But in the back, you can see over here, my black Seaman, even though it's determinate, is still putting out flowers. Probably not going to put any more fruit. It's going to give up the ghost here pretty soon as well. Just like its brothers have down here, sisters, whatever they are. They just didn't handle it. Now the first three, they're still here. And look at the fruit. They still got fruit on them. These are heirloom tomatoes, and they have battled it. Now, like I said, this one right here, these two have started to give up the ghost a little bit. This one has completely bitten the dust. Don't know what it is, don't care, because it gave up all its fruit before it did that anyway. The other one that's really surprised me and pleased me because it came on slow is these Dwarf Purple Heart, which is also an heirloom variety and just shouldn't be doing this well. Now, the key to these, though, is you gotta get them as soon as they start to break because they do not last on the vine. They rot really, really quickly. So you gotta get them when they break. So this one right here, I can see, you probably can't see it on the camera, just starting to break, but they got this unique shape to them. But I'm really pleased with those as well. So my tomatoes, if you've seen some of the pictures, have absolutely done their job. And the heirlooms, this time of year, even though they're producing They don't handle the heat well, and they get soft really, really quickly. So you got to eat them. You know, you can't have them sitting around on the counter too long. But here's another heirloom. This is I want to say this is I don't know what this one is. Like, it's a single one I played. It says it's Dwarf Purple Heart. It doesn't look like a Dwarf Purple Heart. It looks more like the Black Sea Man, but I may have put the wrong tag in there. But so I pulled the ones that were in here. I'm going to get those tomatoes out because some of them are diseased. But these were one of the early varieties that I had showed you that just doesn't, you know, it just didn't do well here. It produced a ton of fruit, but the plant got diseased really quickly, and this was the Beaverlodge slicer. Over here, the BHN 571 orange, they're also giving up the ghost. And you can see there's another one. That one right there, if you can see it, that's sun scalded. That's not going to produce. So I'm just going to go ahead and pick it and put it in the compost pile. Nothing wrong with that. Can be in the compost pile. I wasn't overwhelmed by the BHN 571s. I'm really still looking for a really good orange tomato to add just some color. You know, the Dixie Reds, they're getting hammered by disease now, but they have produced an absolute ton of fruit. And I got no, you know, I can't complain about it. Finally got the okra going over there. That is the Dwarf cowhorn okra. And then down the end, I've got a little bit of burgundy okra on there, just to add a little variety to it. But I like the Dwarf cowhorn okra. I don't know if that's the Dwarf variety. It's cowhorn okra because I've pulled off 7 or 8 inch long pods from there, and they are still tender. And you know, if you know anything about okra, you know that if you don't pick okra early, then you're going to get pods that are very tough and stringy, and you cannot cook the toughness out of them. So it is the dying time, and I hope you've had as great a season out of your tomatoes as we've had out of ours. Gosh, I don't even know. We have, you know, we've planted, I don't even remember how many tomatoes we planted, about 100. I don't know if that's with the I'm sorry, I'm standing up and down picking up tomatoes. That's why the camera's not everywhere. You know, I'll show you the cherry tomatoes probably some other time, but for the most part, the sun sugar and the sun orange are still cranking and producing delicious fruit, and it's still not cracking that much, even with this brutal 3-digit heat index heat and then watering it. The apple yellows are still cranking. They're just not the greatest tasting. So, but anyway, I hope you have had a great season. As you get into July, it's going to be really, really hard. You can shade your plants. You can get as much as 10 degrees lower underneath if you have enough tomatoes to make it worthwhile. We didn't, and quite honestly, we're tired. We just really want to just put a wrap on it. We're still going to be working in the garden and maintaining it. These tenderette beans, the last thing I'll say about these, absolutely thrilled with these. I planted these as a cover crop just to fill in here. I did not expect them that at this time of year that they were going to be producing, and they're just producing a lot. And I'm really happy. They did better than the top crop, better than the Provider, which are my kind of my go-tos. Super, super thrilled with these. Excuse me. So, anyway, welcome to the dying time, Zone 8B. Don't get discouraged. It's just the way that it is. I would stop trying to battle the disease. Still try to battle the pests if you can, if you've got stuff on there, but the disease is here to stay. If they get too diseased, you want to make sure you pull them so that you don't create a disease bank. I'm going to go ahead and pull these probably next week as soon as I can get these last fruit to turn. Same with the BHNs over there, and then the same with my Dixie Reds. But great tomato season. We've probably produced, I wouldn't even, 800 pounds of tomatoes. So, hey, it can be done. Zone 8B South, they say you can't grow large slicing tomatoes. Every year we demonstrate that that's not true, and so do a lot of people who know what they're doing. So, peace out.